the audio clip from Alec Guinness's memoir, A Positively Final Appearance, which was his last memoir. Man, you know you've had a storied career when you write multiple autobiographies.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So,
and you know when the last one is too, he's like, this is it. I got nothing more. I have no more stories after this book.
right.
And then he went and passed away the next year later.
I know, he wasn't kidding.
Yeah, he takes those, his stage direction all the way to the end. He hits his cues, he hits his marks, and he's out of there.
Sir Alec,
curtain call.
out. Mic drop. But anyway, he laid this on us, and so see if you remember this one.
A refurbished Star Wars is on somewhere. I have no intention of revisiting any galaxy. I shrivel inside each time it's mentioned. 20 years ago, when the film was first shown, it had a freshness, also a sense of moral good and fun. Then I began to be uneasy at the influence it might be having. The bad penny first dropped in San Francisco when a sweet-faced boy of 12 told me proudly that he had seen Star Wars over 100 times. His elegant mother nodded with approval. Looking into the boy's eyes, I thought I detected little star shells of madness beginning to form, and I guessed that one day they would explode. "I'd love you to do something for me," I said. "Or anything," the boy said rapturously. "You won't like what I'm going to ask you to do." "Anything, sir, anything." "Well, do you think you could promise never to see Star Wars again?" He burst into tears. His mother drew herself up to an immense height. "What a dreadful thing to say to a child," she barked, and dragged the poor kid away. Maybe she was right. But I just hope the lad, now in his 30s, is not living in a fantasy world of second-hand childish banalities.
Well, who would do something like that all these years later after seeing Star Wars?
Yes.
Definitely not us here at Rebel Force Radio. But I was so excited after we heard this story last week, and I just decided to do some snooping around, and I discovered a young man named Daniel Henning. And he's not exactly 30. And he's not exactly 12 years old anymore. He's not 30, as Sir Alec Guinness thought he would be when he wrote his book. He's now in his 50s. He's a member of the original Star Wars generation. And I found him. I couldn't believe I found him. Daniel Henning. And the way I found him is because Daniel wrote a book called Alec Guinness Hated Star Wars, or How I Became a Famous Star Wars Fan. It's not a book that exactly has been in the spotlight at all. It's sort of obscure. Yeah. And I was surprised.
Under the radar.
So let's put it on the radar and let's get Daniel Henning here with us. The kid. We got the kid.
We found him. Let's step on.
Let's find out if he still has star shells of madness in his eye.
All right, off we go. Into the cantina.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink.
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Well, Daniel, welcome to Rebel Force Radio. Welcome to our little cantina here. Great to have you.
My pleasure to be here.
Well, I mean, the pleasure is on this side because you are about to give us your side of this story about meeting Sir Alec Guinness. And this is a first. My understanding is this is not a story that you have told yourself outside of your book. You've not been interviewed about this moment in your life. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
So,
wild. For 25 years or something, I didn't even know. Well, actually, for, I don't know, I guess it was like 15 years, I didn't even know other people knew about it.
Really?
That's so wild. We found the kid. Can I be a little disappointed you're not still a kid, though? I was really hoping to get the take from the actual kid, but I guess time stands still for no one. But you seem
Exactly.
like
I
you still
did my
have
best, but
you seem like you still have the enthusiasm of a young kid in 1979, a young Star
yeah,
Wars fan from back in the day.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love the chance. Go ahead, Daniel.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I love the chance to talk to fans from the original generation who experienced it the way I did in the theaters
Yeah,
as kids of the 70s. And here
yeah.
we are all these years later still talking about Star Wars. But you have a lot to talk about. You actually have a story connected with Obi-Wan Kenobi himself.
Exactly.
So,
Um,
so growing up in California, like you did, in and around Hollywood, I mean, running into celebrities. I mean, you're a working actor or a working actor as a young man. Running into celebrities was probably something that wasn't new for you, I would guess.
I had some experiences with that. I actually, weirdly enough, I was just looking at a photograph on Facebook right before this, which is one of the instances where I had spent time around famous people. There's a man who you now know today from his sausage, whose name was Jimmy Dean. And Jimmy was a huge country singer.
Yeah.
In fact, he had his own television show that introduced the first Muppet. Ralph the dog was created for the Jimmy Dean show. And Jimmy was sort of like my uncle.
No
And
kidding.
his backup singers, the Imperials, I knew them. So I kind of met some people. I wasn't actually related to Jimmy, but my family was close and he loved me. And so I had spent time that way around a few celebrities. And then actually just before this whole instance happened, I had just done a TV movie with Diane Cannon. And she had been so amazing to me. She didn't treat me like, some kid that was on the set. And there were a bunch of kids on the set, but for some reason she took me under her wing. And oh, look at that! There's Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy.
Jimmy Dean. Now we some folks will remember Jimmy Dean from his role in Diamonds Are Forever, a James Bond film, Sean Connery's last, where he played Willard White, and he was sort of based on Howard Hughes. And but yes, I grew up obviously eating all the Jimmy Dean breakfast foods, and remember my grandmother talking about Jimmy Dean.
I remember when Jimmy told me that he was leaving the music business to start making sausages. And I laughed in his face. I mean, I was 6 or something, but I just thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard, that somebody would leave the business and go make sausages.
Wow.
And now we still hear his voice on television because he made sausages, not because he was a singer that everybody knew.
Wow. So you were around celebrity, and it wasn't something that was new to you. Mm-hmm.
Little bits. And I would say, like, to your question in relation to this, what that gave me was the understanding that celebrities were people too. And I had some tiny little access to some random, a couple random whatever. But like, I understood Jimmy was my uncle. He was like just a human, and Diane Cannon was really human to me. So when when Alec Guinness had the opportunity to pass in front of me, I wasn't that afraid of trying to make some kind of communication with him.
Right.
Now, Francis Ford Coppola had been amazing to me as well when I did the Black Stallion, and
you were in the Black Stallion movie, yes, directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
I didn't grow up in Hollywood in that kind of. I mean, I grew up in Oakland and Alameda actually, and so I was sort of in the business, but not really in the business, So,
well, more in the business than Jimmy Mack and I ever were. I mean, you were in movies, and Jimmy Dean was like an uncle to you. You're hanging with Diane Carroll, and you're about to meet Alec Guinness. I mean, that's
celebrities and
Diane Cannon. I'm sorry, I said Carroll. My apologies, Diane.
Diane Carroll. She's really cool.
Yeah. So where
you
did
grew up
this
a Star Wars fan? Let Jimmy Mack ask a question here every once in a while, Swink.
All right.
So you grew up a big Star Wars fan there as a kid in Oakland with the Jimmy Dean sausages and everything. That was you grew up as a Star Wars fan. You were a big Star Wars fan, and you saw the movie how many times the summer it came out?
Well, I saw the movie 100 times the summer it came out, and then they did a re-release in '78.
Wait. You're not kidding.
Wait,
you're not kidding. You saw it 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay, you said it so matter-of-factly like that. At that period of time, I mean, that had to have been some sort of record, I would imagine, if anybody was keeping track.
Well, I think it was. It was certainly before people did that. I was just nuts. So, but it was. People didn't do that. Maybe because you didn't get the opportunity, really. I mean, movies ran and then they stopped, and then you didn't get to see them. They had to be on TV if you were going to see them again. There wasn't even VCRs yet, really. So yeah, it was 100 times in the movie theater, in the Alameda, the beautiful Alameda Theater. And I saw it, twice a night and 5 times on the weekend, and for a lot of the summer. And then when it was re-released in '78, I saw it 2 more times just because, I don't know, there it was. And, I had stopped at 100 because it sounded like a good number. Like I knew every frame of it at that point. I didn't need to see it again. So
I would have seen it 100 times if I had access to a theater. You must have been, as a kid, it must have been walking distance for you or something to be able to go there all the time.
Yeah, it was like 2 blocks from my house and directly across the street from my mother's modeling school. So in a way, and I was she was a single parent at that point, and so I was basically like that. It was like a great babysitting gig. I think it was $1. I think the kids' fare was $1. And I could go in at 7 and see the 9:15 show too. And she worked till 9:30, 10:30 at night. So I would just come back to her studio and we'd go home together or whatever.
Busy
but it wasn't,
day at the movie theaters.
Yeah, and of course I knew the staff really well at that point, and they were my friends, and they gave me movie posters like that one there.
He's pointing to
the
yes, classic circus poster.
Is that what it's called?
As a matter of fact, that is what they call it. Collectors call it, and it was painted by a guy named Drew Struzan, who is really well known for painting poster art, and he had a collaborator on that poster who just recently passed away. The gentleman's name is not on the tip of my tongue right now, but I'll try to find that and report that later in the show. But that's a classic Star Wars.
It's one of my favorite pieces of art just ever. Like, it's just such a beautiful piece of art. And I think it's so one of the things I loved about Star Wars was the old movie quality of it. And I think that's what this poster captures, is the fact that there was this movie, but there was another movie before it. Well, this is missing. That's missing the Alec Guinness on the side. That's missing the part of it that's the best, I think.
Oh, yeah. I got a little cropped version here on the screen.
Yeah. Because to me, the idea is that, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi from like a movie that was playing at that theater beforehand, and the poster got ripped down and something else got put up. And, and that said to me, talked about the history of movies. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Lucas was doing. He was trying to bring back the sort of history of serials and that. And I think that's what I think that image captures so beautifully.
Yeah, the artist's name, Charles White III, collaborated with Drew Struzan on that poster for the 1978 general release of Star Wars.
Oh, it was.
He
okay.
just passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. He just passed away a couple of days ago.
That was the time I saw it the 2 times. That was numbers 101 and 102 were with that poster.
Well, it was just great because the film was back in the theaters every summer. Even after Empire Strikes Back came out, it was in the theater. And that made the opportunity for us kids to see it many, many times. But I know for a fact I did not come close to seeing it 100 times. That is the most I've heard of. Yeah, in one summer. Summer came out too. That's at this point I've seen it 500 times. But
now, Daniel, when they made some changes between the releases, like for example, adding episode 4, was that something that you noticed right away, having seen it so many times prior?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm still like, what's episode 4?
Yeah, right. I'm
To
with
me,
you,
there's
man.
Star Wars, and then there's all these other
Yeah.
movies that are part of that same universe. But there's Star Wars, and when I say Star Wars, I mean what you people refer to as episode 4.
Right. us people. Yeah, right. So you notice these differences then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
And there
the
weren't,
kids were all
there-
buzzing about that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, especially that, but well, I don't want to jump ahead of the story too much, but I haven't seen it a lot since then.
Mhm.
So, but I don't want to tell you that now because it's the end of the story.
All right, well, let's just jump into the story because we want to hear about your encounter with Alec Guinness. We've heard Sir Alec's point of view of the story, and I want to hear about it from you. First question is, how did the opportunity present itself for you to meet the venerable Jedi Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, in person?
Well, I had been in this film that Francis Ford Coppola produced called The Black Stallion, and
Yep.
it had its premiere at the San Francisco Film Festival. And so I was going to the premiere of that, and then I knew it was a film festival that I didn't know anything about, frankly, because I was 12 or something, and I got the brochure sent to me, and there was the list of things that was being done. And for the festival, the opening night tribute was a tribute to Alec Guinness. And it was a black tie affair. Oh, look at that. I just took stuff to the framers, and I just took that poster to the framers and the Star Wars one behind me. Yeah, so I was in that film, and so I saw that they were having this opening night tribute to Alec Guinness, and my mom didn't have a lot of money. She was a woman in the 70s running her own business, but she knew what it would mean to me. I had already actually met Mark Hamill at a concert, and had gotten his autograph and said hello, and he was very nice. And it was a brief encounter.
What
It was
concert?
called the Sounds of Space. It was at Zellerbach Auditorium in Berkeley. It was produced by Gary Kurtz, actually, and the poster art was Ralph McQuarrie, and it was the Star Wars music. But I believe there was other. I want to say there's like maybe 2001 or some other space music in there as well, but it was mostly Star Wars. And Gary Kurtz produced it. I also met Gary that night as well. Later, his children became very close friends of mine. Much later, years later.
Wow.
So my birthday was also around this whole time. So my mom asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said I want to see Alec Guinness. And
as most 12-year-olds are wont to do.
Exactly.
Well, we could get you a clown, a magician, or Sir Alec Guinness for your birthday. What do you want?
And actually, a lot of kids might have gone for the clown or the magician, but it was just weird to go. Give me the old English dude, who wasn't that old actually when that was shot. So we went, and it was a black tie affair, and I didn't have a tuxedo, and etc. But we went. We obviously didn't have tickets in the front, but we had tickets in the back. And there was I guess a party afterwards, or a meal or a dinner or something like that. And we didn't have tickets to that. We just had tickets to the event. And I had known that Alec Guinness had some issues with Star Wars. I don't remember exactly what I knew. But I knew that it wasn't his favorite film. And I also knew that he didn't really like giving autographs. So I was like, oh, well, I mean, I'm here. My mom spent all this money. I don't want to leave down an autograph. I mean, he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this is where my knowing that celebrities are humans, maybe piece of knowledge came in. I was like, okay, well, he's a human. So how do I get him to do this? And I realized that if I asked him for an autograph in front of 750 people, he would probably have to say yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Publicly shame him into giving you the autograph because he's like, I can't let these people see me turn down a 12-year-old kid.
a little towhead 12-year-old blonde boy who looks an awful lot like Luke Skywalker. No, you can't. You really can't say that, right?
Right.
So I stood up. It was a question and answer after this whole thing, and I, raised my little hand and stood up and I was an actor, so I certainly was able to project my question to the stage with no problem whatsoever. And I said, "Sir Alec, hello. I have seen Star Wars 102 times," and I paused because I thought when other people heard that, they were kind of shocked, and I thought that the audience might have some reaction too, which they did. There were gasps, there was laughter, there was a little bit of applause, and then actually I'm gonna push my chair back a little bit here, and then Sir Alec literally did this in his chair.
Oh, he just sort of fell back, acting like he had a heart attack or something.
Yeah. And then from here, he says, he kind of leans up to the microphone. And he says, "And it wasn't even my best picture."
Of course not. Yeah.
Right. So, which got another big laugh. And then I was like, "Oh, good, I got him warmed up." And now this is a moment, right? Like I've actually helped Alec Guinness have a great moment in his evening of being Alec Guinness. And so I was like, "Here's the hammer," and I said, "And it would mean very much to me if I could have your autograph." And I expected him to say, "Come down to the stage and just sign it there," like just as he would have for whatever else.
Come here, my little friend.
That's what he said. You went running down there with a piece of paper.
Right? That was it. That was my fantasy of what was going to happen. That was how I was going to get to meet Alec Guinness, right? But instead, he pointed his finger at me and he said, "I'll see you after the show."
Oh, you're being summoned to see Sir Alec after the show.
Yeah, and there was this murmur for the crowd, and I have no idea what happened after that because all I could think of was, I'm going to go backstage and meet Alec Guinness, and everybody knows that I'm going to go back on stage and meet Alec Guinness, and so I guess the evening must have ended because we're not still there, and but I have no recollection of any of that.
Right, you were sitting there anticipating this moment.
Oh,
and you were thinking,
absolutely.
He's probably going to become like a grandfather to me. We're going to hang. He really wants me to take me under his wing.
Yeah. Your new uncle, like Jimmy Dean was. He'll be making you sausages.
They like sausages in the UK. Sausages go well with Guinness, in fact. So, so then I went backstage, found the stage door, and went backstage. My mom and I, and they immediately let us in, and everyone knew. Like all the people backstage, they were like, "There he is, there's that boy." That there was, and they were obviously they had other things to do, whatever, and but people were hanging around, wanting to see whatever this was going to be, I guess. I didn't quite realize that in the moment, but then when it happened, I was like, "Oh, they were all listening. They were purposely like, oh, okay." So, so we're standing there, and they bring Sir Alec over to me, and he was, huge smile on his face, and was lovely and charming. And the very first thing he said to me was, "I feel like I should give you some of my money back."
Wait, I don't get it. Why would he? I feel like I should give you some of my money back. Oh, because you saw the movie so many times?
I paid to see Star Wars so many times, he feels guilty about the percentage of the money he took from me.
At least one royalty check might have been directly from you.
Jedi refund.
And
That's
and that
funny.
and I found that to be, and even in that moment, like right in that moment, I was like, that's a weird thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, and especially to a kid, that's like, it was so it was
Yes.
strange to me. Nice, yeah.
Picture of
It was strange to me that was his first thing. That was the first thing he thought of. Well, the first thing he thought of was it wasn't even my best picture, right? And then that,
Then the money.
um, then the money, which, and those two things, I think in his head were absolutely tied together. Like,
Right.
it wasn't my best picture, but I made lots of money from it. And so he was dealing with the whole art versus commerce thing,
Wow. Yeah, yeah. And of course, I mean, he's,
Fascinating.
legendary for huge roles. And I mean, back when Hollywood, I mean, it still was, very, very important. It was in the 70s, but I mean, golden age stuff that he was involved in these huge epics. And now we would consider Star Wars now an epic, but at the time, it wasn't Bridge on the River Kwai. It wasn't right.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Right. Lawrence of
Yeah.
Arabia.
And in the little book that I do, and on the audiobook, I talk about that the first hour of that evening were long version clips of, a bunch of those movies. And so as a kid who hadn't been able to see Bridge on the River Kwai and all the rest of that, I got an opportunity to discover who Alec Guinness as a phenomenal actor really was. Even like, Oliver Twist playing Fagin and all of that, and the Hill Mob and all of that. And if I thought I loved Alec Guinness when I walked into that room, after seeing like an hour long, clip reel of his work, in-depth, wonderful scene work and what have you, I was in love with him as the actor Alec Guinness.
And then you met him.
And then no, he was, well, anyway, I'll tell you in a minute about that. But so there was the money thing, and laughs, everyone around, ha ha ha, funny, ha ha ha, but I didn't care. I'm about there, and I've got my program, and and I'm ready to, maybe I even have the page ready, right? And then we chat a little more, and I don't really remember the other little things that we chatted about. Maybe he asked me how I saw it so many times or something like that. And then he said, okay, well, I'll give you the autograph, but I want to ask you something. I want you to ask you to do something for me. And I said, anything. And he said, you're not going to like what I'm going to ask you to do. And I said, anything. And he said, do you think you could manage never to see Star Wars again? And okay, so there, right?
Yeah. Boom.
Like, what?
Right. And that was certainly not what I was expecting him to say, right?
For sure.
And again, I thought it was just going to be the moment signing the autograph, so I didn't realize we were going to get into like his psychological issues with Star Wars.
This is going to be his confrontation.
Come on. I mean, do I look like a therapist? And then so there was this moment, like this was a very sincere question. There was no this was not a joke. The other things were made sort of as jokes, although I kind of read them all not as jokes even in the moment. But this was not a joke. And I don't think other people around laughed either. So he was asking me to promise never to see Star Wars again in exchange for an autograph. I didn't understand why, but I thought about it, and I had actually stopped seeing Star Wars. Like I stopped at 100, and then I saw it 2 more times, and I was already basically, I mean, I wanted to see Empire Strikes Back and whatever, but like I'd seen it. Like I said, I knew every frame of it until George Lucas went in and kept tinkering with it.
Right.
And so I thought, well, and this is a promise, right? So can I do that? I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I said, yes. And he, laughed or smiled or whatever. And then he gave me the autograph. And he, in fact, made me promise never to see Star Wars again in exchange for it. And it actually says to...
He's holding it up here. We've got this. There it is. 23rd Annual San Francisco International Film Festival. This is the program.
And the autograph says, to Danny, great wishes always, Alec Guinness. And you have promised me not to see Star Wars again. Exclamation.
It's in the actual autograph.
Can we see it? Oh, here it comes. Oh, look at that. He signed the entire top of his page in the program. And that's a contract right there. That is a contract signed by Sir Alec Guinness. And you gave him a verbal agreement.
And this is the first time I'm showing it to anybody, by the way.
Wow. Look at this.
Thank you.
Man, this is history. This is real Star Wars history. Absolutely. Look at that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're honored. Now, I noticed you didn't sign it, so maybe there's a loophole there that but Jim's right. There was a verbal. There was a verbal there, so
absolutely. No, I made that promise.
So you didn't burst out. You didn't burst out in tears, according to Sir Alec's account of the situation. You did. You were crying, and your mom stared down the Jedi Knight and scolded him. She scolded him. That didn't happen. That part didn't happen.
I mean, I can obviously I have the autograph, so it's proof that happened, right?
Right.
I also just in my mind's eye, I can literally. I was taller than him even then. I can actually see the freckles on his little bald head when he bent down to sign the autograph. Like, this happened.
Wait, I saw that movie. Obi-Wan Kenobi was not bald.
he was pretty bald.
He was.
He had flowing white hair.
So, and I can also confirm that you are the same kid, because I can tell we have you on camera here, and I do see the star shells of madness forming in your eyes.
Oh, look at it.
Alex said, yeah, there it is. There it is. The star shells of madness forming in his eyes. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? The story doesn't sound as bad as Sir Alec made it sound. It made it sound like he made a kid cry, and he was proud of himself for doing that too, but that didn't quite happen that way.
No, not at all. He was so lovely. He was such an amazing presence for me. He never made me feel bad. He certainly never made me cry. He made me feel happy. I was on cloud nine for months, frankly, and even the question, like, making me never see Star Wars again, even that was a prideful moment for me, because I had this secret pact with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And do you remember the day you broke that pact? Do you remember sitting down and watching Star Wars after that happened and thinking to yourself, boy, I really shouldn't be doing this?
I'm going to beg to differ with you. That didn't happen.
Didn't it really?
Yeah. It happened. I suppose if you were looking at it from the outside, you could say I sort of saw Star Wars again. But in my mind, no, I haven't. So I've never seen it on the small screen. Well, first of all, I don't know why you would watch it on the small screen. It's such a movie to be seen on the big screen.
Okay.
And from 100 showings on the big screen, I can tell you that's the truth.
There you go.
So it was released twice after that, the sort of the major over the years big re-releases, and I felt like I needed to see it to just kind of, I mean, that was a major moment in my life, even though I was a kid. Not the Alec Guinness, I mean that too, but with Star Wars, right? So it was, I felt like I needed to kind of check in with these, I don't know, friends, these people that I had spent so much time with, these characters in that movie, you know. But I was very conscious of the promise that I had made, and I wanted to figure out how I could do that and still remain true to what Sir Alec asked. So so my way of doing that, and again, only these 2 times, it was in the movie theater, and both times I left for about 10 minutes, the same 10 minutes. So in fact, I have never seen all of Star Wars again.
What are those 10 minutes you walk out on?
Oh, it starts with the boardroom scene. You know, I don't again, I haven't seen it in about years. Yeah, with Grand Moff Tarkin and all of that. That's sort of the boring part. I love that 10 boring minutes. So, you know,
oh my
backstory.
goodness.
All
right, so when did you find out that Sir Alec Guinness had recounted this story in his memoirs?
Okay, so I have a friend named Tom Royer, and I've known Tom since I was 12. I'm pretty sure he went to a couple of those 102 screenings with me. I'm pretty sure, and we have stayed friends over all of the years. And in fact, he ended up working at Disneyland for his whole career. And right before the shutdown, the last thing I did was he took me to Star Wars Land at Disneyland.
Great!
As you know, as part of our ongoing, you know, lifetime of Star Wars.
Right.
So he, you know, so he knew the story because I told him, I probably called him that next day and said, "You will never believe what happened." And I'm sure I showed him the autograph and all that. Right. So he knew that story. But when all of that happened, there wasn't this thing called the internet. So news and information just didn't get out in the same sorts of ways. So in 2015, I got a forward from him. I think it might have been on Facebook, or maybe it was just a regular forward, with a link to an article about Alec Guinness hating Star Wars, and the Star Wars fan that he made promise never to see Star Wars again. And Tom's attached note said, "Isn't this you?"
Wow.
And well, yes, that is me, but how do they know about that? He's dead, and I haven't told anybody in like 30 years. Because after a while, you know, it was like a day-old fish story. Like all my friends knew it, and you know, like you can't just, it doesn't suddenly come up in conversation at a dinner party. "Oh, when I was 12 years old, Alec Guinness made me promise never to see Star Wars again." You know?
Yeah, because the family's like, "Yeah, we know, Daniel, we know." And then he said, "Don't watch it ever again."
And no matter how hard I would try to slip it into conversations in college or whatever, it just didn't work.
That reminds me one time.
You might notice the star shells of madness in my eyes. Well, there's a story behind that.
Exactly. "Oh, is that a Guinness you're drinking? Oh, let me tell you."
Got to work it in somehow. But the book came out in 2001, I believe, after he had passed away, I think, right?
1999.
Yeah.
And I don't read biographies of actors. I've been in the business. I've been running a theater, and I'm a theater director. And the last thing I do is want to hear actors talk about what they do.
Right.
I love actors. I don't get that way. I just that's all I do all day long. So I wouldn't want to read, you know, someone's biography, for instance, necessarily. Although I'm an audiobook narrator now, so I like it when they pay me to read them.
Right.
And you know, and so I immediately, when I saw that it was in a book or whatever, I immediately ordered the book. And there on page 11 of his final, like the last words he's going to say to the world, his final memoir, he tells this story.
Unbelievable. And you would think that this would have been, you know, fresher in his mind when he was writing some of his other memoirs, because he wrote several. And
Yeah, he wrote several in between.
Right, exactly. But he saved it until the end. Now, we spoke last week about the fact that he may have decided to put this book out and talk a little Star Wars because it had been back in the theaters, and I mean he even references that in the book. So it was definitely time for him to it was relevant again, I guess.
Yes, and I think distant enough, perhaps, so that because if he was really bad mouthing it in whatever way, in his lovely way, in 1978 or 79, while the money was still rolling in, it wouldn't have looked very good,
Right.
So I think maybe 20 years later, with hindsight, he felt like he could tell the story.
The thing that surprises me the most is how well, up to the point where he says that, you began to cry and your mother, gave him what for. His recall of the story is pretty darn good for a man of his age at the time. I'm guessing
he remembered every quote,
yes,
or exactly correct quote.
Yes, and
what we said, exactly the words.
Given that he's written a number of memoirs, I'm guessing he probably journaled or had a diary, and this may have ended up in his diary.
In his personal diary.
Right.
I imagine that's what it was. I imagine that.
When you walked away with the autograph, he probably said to his assistant or whatever, well, that's going in the book.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Is your mom still around? Did your mom live to hear this story? Is she still around?
She lives in my house.
Oh,
she's out there right now.
And I bet she got a chuckle out of the whole idea of her scolding this revered actor.
Exactly. But also he said the young boy's elegant mother. My mom was elegant. So Alec Guinness called my mother elegant. She liked that a lot.
I bet.
I'll bet. That's great. That's really wonderful. So here we are all these years later, and I mean, you don't go see the original Star Wars, but have you kept up with the franchise? Have you followed any of the TV shows or films?
Yes, I do. I've not. Interestingly enough, right? His intention, not nefariously, but was to take Star Wars from me, right? Like that's what that promise was. He didn't make me promise not to see the sequel or whatever, but like in toto, that's kind of what happened. I have seen all of the other movies once. I feel like that's a little bit of my promise to him too, that I shouldn't see them more than once. I've seen some of the TV series, The Mandalorian. But I haven't, and I've seen a couple of the other movies, Solo, and but I haven't seen most of the TV stuff. And I certainly have not seen all of it. I mean, I'm so thrilled that this thing that was so important to me and had such a significant impact on me as a human has gone on to change the world, really. That's super cool. But I feel like I don't feel the need to have to follow up on all of it. Partially because I promised Alec Guinness in some strange way that I wouldn't.
Well, geez, Swank, I don't know about you, Swank, but to me, it sounds like Sir Alec won.
I know. I think so too.
This poor kid and it still is, it's still paying dividends for Sir Alec all these years later.
Yeah.
No doubt. I have an R2D2, standee from the time, but I don't have a Grogu puppet, for instance.
No, wow. I have a feeling that if you never met Sir Alec Guinness, you'd probably be the third co-host here on Rebel Force Radio. Your life would have taken an entirely different path. But you were discouraged. You were discouraged. You and your elegant mom sent away,
right, exactly.
never to watch, you with the Star Shells of Madness and your elegant mom. It's,
Right?
what a story. What a story. And so I recommend to all of our listeners that they check out your book and the audiobook. That's how I found you. And it's available at audible.com/RFR. Alec Guinness Hated Star Wars, or How I Became a Famous Star Wars Fan by Daniel Henning. I really enjoyed it, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed telling the story, you know, like I enjoyed going back and rethinking it, and, you know, and also just now sort of being a, you know, a human who's been in the entertainment business for a very long time at this point, trying to figure out the why of why he told the story that way, you know? And I have some answers maybe, but I don't know.
Well, I think
You know?
that one way to look at this is that, you know, actors are storytellers. And I think that as it played out the way now, from your point of view, all you needed was what you told us. From his point of view, he needed a little more drama. I think, you know, he just infused it with the elegant mom chewing him out and the boy bursting into tears. Another idea is maybe that's how he remembered it. It could have been his guilty
writer's embellishment,
or it was his guilty subconscious, you know, having snuffed out the dreams of a 12-year-old. Now, it rings a bit of, you know, the famous William Shatner Saturday Night Live sketch of get a life, will you people? And some of these, some of the actors or the creatives behind these phenomena, they worry that are they responsible for people in their mind wasting their lives, you know, on a movie or a TV series or something. And so I think they feel a sense of responsibility in some ways. So it could have been, I think it was probably, there were measures of I don't think it was malicious is what I'm trying to say. I think that he, in some ways, he was looking out for you. Don't waste your life sitting in a movie theater, living out someone else's fantasy.
And by the way, I mean, he was right. I mean, look at the two of you.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Daniel, because I was on my way into the studio, and I told my wife, I was explaining who we were going to be talking to, and you know, I said, "Gosh, I don't know why he would say that," and she just looked at me and she goes, "Really? You're about to go down the stairs into your basement and talk about Star Wars for 2 hours with your friend." So she got it right away, you know.
We might need some Alec Guinness intervention here at some point, but it's too late for us.
I think that is what he was, you know what I mean? I think that's what he was talking about, was this. In fact, he was sort of foreseeing something that really didn't exist yet. Right? Because that kind of
was early on.
Yeah, it didn't. There was no. That never happened to any other movie before Star Wars. There was no this kind of massive fandom. You know, that began it all. And so, and even in 1979 there was fandom, but like I was extreme. I saw it 102 times in the movie theater. Right. And I had, you know, my bed sheets and, you know, other things were, you know, my mother used to say that our house was decorated in early Star Wars. You know, so, but he was, I think what he was really talking about, and he projected it on me, although that wasn't who I was, and I wasn't gonna have that experience, I think, in my life. But the idea that there becomes this massive fandom that turns into, you know, like a life obsession. I think that's what he was referring to. He was just talking about a guy.
He saw it coming. He saw it coming. And that's probably what unnerved him about Star Wars to begin with. I don't think he necessarily hated Star Wars, but I think he hated what it became, in his opinion. You know, it just became bigger than the film. And I think perhaps he felt suffocated by that.
I think he felt
Maybe.
guilty, honestly.
And guilty.
I
Guilt,
think he
just
felt
pure
guilty.
guilt. Just pure
Because
guilt.
he was the only one originally making money from it. He did it as a
Yeah.
money gig, like period.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
he did it as a money gig. And then he thought it was just going to be a paycheck, and no one was ever going to see it. I mean, they thought it was going to flop. So I think that when it did become this other thing, then all of that got wrapped up into it too.
Yes.
So so he just didn't know how to. He didn't know how to process that kind of, something that had never happened before, and he's he is truly one of the great actors of all time.
And you and McGregor, of course, took over the role, and now he's going to be starring as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the show. Do you have any interest in seeing that, just based on your story?
I do, actually. I do. I'm a huge fan of Ewan McGregor, actually, and in a lot of ways that's a beautiful transition of the mantle, from Guinness to McGregor. Like, I mean, I know it happened earlier, but especially now because he's older and
Right.
So I'm sure I will watch that series.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's ever within our power to arrange a meeting between yourself and Ewan McGregor, and we can get Ewan McGregor to tell you never to watch Star Wars again, I think things would come full circle, and that would just be amazing.
As long as I don't have to cry
in there for you. Yeah, you do have to cry. This time you actually do have to cry. And
Okay,
and your elegant mom has to yell at him and scold him.
I mean, why not? He's playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. He could play Alec Guinness in this,
Right?
special edition of the story.
His quote is about my mom is, "She drew herself up to an immense height." He was short. So that was another thing, like these tall people around him. That's partially what he's referring to in the piece too.
Yes.
We'll get your book option for a film, and we'll get Ewan McGregor then to play Alec Guinness in the film.
Oh,
absolutely.
perfect.
Absolutely. And if I shave, I can still play me.
No, we'll still be you. We'll play 12-year-old you with the beard and everything. I got to say, I am a fan of your facial hair is striking, and I very much enjoy looking deep into it throughout the entire interview. That's a great look you've cultivated, man. I dig it. His name's Daniel Henning. He's a great guy. Just what a great guy. Check out his book, Alec Guinness Hated Star Wars, or How I Became a Famous Star Wars Fan. And there's so much more in there about your experiences on the set of The Black Stallion and everything else that led up to that infamous meeting between yourself and Sir Alec Guinness. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us here. For the first time, you're doing an interview about this, and I'm really honored that Rebel Force Radio is the place.
Well, it's truly my pleasure. I want to mention, by the way, the Kindle version of the book has the autograph, and it has, picture of me dressed as Luke Skywalker with George Takei. It has.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. It has a picture of me with Francis Ford Coppola on the set of The Black Stallion. Like there's all kinds of really fun pictures. There's like 25 color pictures in it. So it's kind of a fun thing to look at on the Kindle because you can see that stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm so glad to be able to give you this interview and to tell this story to you. It's a story I've kept, for decades and not really told. So I'm thrilled that you guys gave me this opportunity.
Wow, we loved it. We loved hearing about it. If you want to hear more, the book is Alec Guinness Hated Star Wars, How I Became a Famous Star Wars Fan. Available as an audiobook or, as Daniel just said, on Kindle with some cool photos and things that you can see up close. So awesome. Thank you so much, my friend.
I
would say may the force be with you, but I wouldn't want you to,
I think it is. Oh, I think it very much is with me. I think he left it with me somehow.
Yeah, okay. That's good. That's all he left you with. Took everything else away from you. Thanks again. DanielHenning.net also is the website if people want more information about this guy. Great guy, Daniel Henning. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Real pleasure. Thank you.